All right, we are back with a video. We are going to be breaking down over the next week all of the new Disney announcements for Marvel and Star Wars. So we're starting off with Marvel here, and we have a lot to get into. So we'll start off with the big news. Had no idea about it. Fantastic Four is coming,
Hmm.
and it's going to be directed by Jon Watts. This is massive. We've had two iterations of the Fantastic Four, and neither of them were good. We'll just be honest here. There was the train wreck, which was between
Josh Trank.
Fox and Josh Trank. Um, that was absolutely nuts if you read anything behind the scenes about it. But in Kevin Feige, we trust. Jon Watts has made two great Spider Man movies, Homecoming and Far From Home, and hopefully a third one is on the way. Um, what were your thoughts when you first heard this news? And is it going to be Emily Blunt and John Krasinski in the lead roles?
I've been waiting for this announcement since 2018 or whenever they bought Fox because um while X-Men was Fox's main like comic book franchise, like X-Men had just been consistently going on like with its ups and downs for like years by at that point. Fantastic Four was rebooted twice. I'm actually gonna push back. The first version wasn't that bad. I mean, I'll speak from a place of like nostalgia. It was I thought it was like I thought it was funny. It was also compared to the 2015 one was like relatively comic book accurate. And yeah, the 2015 one was, oh my god, that was awful. That was waste of my time. And that was like an hour like 40. It was a complete waste of my time. And so this is like a third time's the charm, hopefully type thing. I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't be because while I've had my opinions on like some of the different takes the MCU has taken its characters. One batch of characters I was like they would be perfect for is the Fantastic Four, just because it builds on everything that the MCU is known for, like the family, the bonding, the back and forth banter, and the cool kind of like cosmic like scale of adventure. So I've been waiting for this announcement for a while. I'm glad to see they're fast forwarding development on it. I think for some reason I thought they were gonna wait on the back burner to see how to include them, just because with Fantastic Four comes like Doctor Doom and another character who's appearing in another movie we'll be talking about in a bit. But um, yeah, it's just exciting to see that they're now fast forwarding development. I was surprised to hear John Watts was directing, just because like I don't know. I just thought he would be stay attached, presumably for the next like three other Spider-Man films they're inevitably going to make. So to see him branch over here, I'm pretty excited to see, since like Spider-Man Homecoming had a lot of like very interesting like dynamics between different personalities. Just Spider-Man, Vulture, Spider-Man, and Ned. So I feel like you need that. Like my backup director would have been James Gunn, just because like Guardians functions on a similar like level to Fantastic Four. But overall, I'm just glad to see that they're now fast tracking development on this. This property would match up really well with the MCU.
Yeah, I mean, John Watts was not who I was expecting, but I'm
Mhm.
also excited that he's directing. Um, the first thing is one, just the basic knowing how to direct with CG because these are CG heavy movies, right?
Mhm.
Two, execution, great execution with both movies I've seen of his, which are the Spider-Man films. Three, it makes sense scheduling wise. Peyton Reed, I think, would have been my first choice, just because Ant-Man kind of feels like it has that some of the similar elements to that of the Fantastic Four.
Right.
And so I thought Peyton Reed would be a great director, but I think with Ant-Man and its release time and probably when they want to release Fantastic Four,
Yeah.
it was impossible to get him to direct both of those. Um, and the other one was John Krasinski if he was to star in the film,
Right. Oh
which I
yes.
don't I don't know if that would have been feasible on such a large film. We haven't I don't think we've ever seen that happen. Like John Favreau in Iron Man and Taika in Thor Ragnarok are like the two biggest directors starring in a Marvel movie or a big CG movie type thing.
Right. I don't know. I mean, I'm not like we've all only seen one movie from Krasinski thus far, which is A Quiet Place, which was great. Of course. I mean, hey, who knows? I mean, him and his wife has been some of the most popular fan casts in like recent years. And like, will that happen? I don't know. I like I don't know. Like, I guess that'll be another video we could do in the future. Fan casting Fantastic Four, because these are four of the most like dynamic personalities that are just playing off of each other. So there's inevitably going to be so much. Um, there's gonna be a lot of fun to have with whoever they cast. I wish David Harbour wasn't cast in Black Widow because he would have made a perfect thing. But you know, can't get everything, I guess.
Right. Yeah, 100%. And it's interesting because Feige mentioned them as the first MCU family.
Yes.
So I'll be curious how this film starts and then where it picks up. But I think
yeah. No, you go, keep going. Sorry.
yeah. No, go
Um,
ahead, and then
I
we'll
was
get
just saying
into
I
it.
have some thoughts about that because like even their Instagram page specifically worded them as the first family. I have some thoughts about that, but I'll save it to when we move to our next movie because I feel it links up there.
Exactly what I was going to go into because
All right.
I was going to say I think it has to do with the next film that's coming out, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. Now, Quantumania obviously has to do with the quantum realm.
Mhm.
The second Ant-Man had to do with that to a certain extent, and this one seems to be taking it to the next level. We have Catherine Newton is the new Cassie Lang. This seems to be building towards the Young Avengers. In one of our next videos, we'll be talking about other Young Avengers such as Haley Steinfeld's, Kate Bishop, and oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the actress's name who plays Miss
I'm
Marvel.
in Villani
Yes,
as Miss Marvel, excuse me.
yeah, and then there's Ironheart, and there are even more. They're building towards the Young Avengers.
Yep.
But stick with Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. What was your thought when you heard they recast Cassie Lang as Catherine Newton?
I was Well, I don't know too much about the original actress they had in Endgame. I don't know too much about Catherine Newton, so it wasn't like a, oh my god, like this is like perfect type thing. But like I'm not against it because again, I haven't really seen anything of the two, so I can't say one should have been like chosen or the other, or like Catherine Newton is a far better pick. I was a little surprised just because like MCU likes to maintain a relative consistency just like throughout that, like even like for really minor characters, like they just maintain that level. But excuse me, I feel like you said, they're building towards Young Avengers, so they might have been looking for someone to like more adequately carry like a franchise for like the next few years. So I feel that might have played into it. I don't know. I was just like surprised because of like the girl, God, I can't remember her name. The girl they got for in Endgame, she wasn't bad. Like I thought she played against Paul Rudd like quite well in her in her few scenes. So, um, I mean, hey, it is what it is. I don't doubt the new girl, Catherine Newton, will be bad, and I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, the film I remember her from is Blockers, and I
Okay.
really loved her performance in Blockers. I thought that was when I'm like, oh, she's going to be a really good actress.
Hmm.
Like she has a great charisma and kind of screen presence to her. Um, and I think she can play a leading role. I know that's probably not in this film, but I think she has that capability.
Hmm.
Um, there's a new film that came out, Freaky Friday. I can't remember what it's called with
Oh, Vince
her
Vaughn.
and Vince Vaughn, where they swap bodies, and Vince Vaughn becomes the murderer, but she's now in her body. And that movie's supposed to be very good. I haven't gotten around to seeing it yet. But from what I've seen of her in Blockers, which you guys should definitely go check out, I thought it was hilarious.
Hmm.
And I think it's a fun movie. John Cena, Leslie Mann, and some other people. Someone I can't remember her name, who I thought could have been cast as
Oh,
Ms.
Geraldine.
Marvel. Yes,
Geraldine Viswanathan or something like that. Yeah.
yes. I think she was awesome too in that film. But let's move on to the other casting news, which we had kind of heard about, but now is confirmed, and we think it's going to tie into Fantastic Four, and they said it's going to tie into Armor Wars to an extent, correct?
Some To some extent. I don't know how much, just because they are kind of operating different realms, but it's the MCU. There's inevitably going to be some sort of attachment.
Right. And that is Jonathan Majors is Kang the Conqueror, the big guy. Now, I'm not sure if in the Loki trailer, when we do our breakdown, we'll try and find all that stuff, if there was a statue of Kang.
Hmm.
But what I did notice is that Fantastic Four is the first family, but they're going to be introduced later on in the timeline, which also fits when Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania is released.
Yes.
how do you think Kang the Conqueror plays into the Fantastic Four?
I feel like for whatever reason, my gut feeling is the first family is going to take place in the past, not a far past. I would say roughly 80s, 80s, 70s. I'm not going to say 90s because Captain Marvel kind of already occupied that area, and I think it'd be, I don't know, a little wasteful to like just stick them in the same decade. So I feel like 80s or 70s. And for whatever reason, somehow, someway, because for those who don't know, in the comics, Kang the Conqueror is technically a descendant of Mr. Fantastic. So like, and then he is a huge time travel villain, and that in its own end opens up so much possibilities post end game world. So I again, the specific wording is the first family. I personally, I'm trying to remember if that name has ever been used to describe them in comics wise, but like this emphasis on the first one, I feel like there are some sort of like trailblazers, like they set some sort of precedent, like before everyone else, like maybe after Captain America, before Captain Marvel, and then for whatever reason, Kang the Conqueror, whatever happens in Quantumania, brings them to the present, and then like Fantastic Four could either be the movie could either be like in the 80s before they get sucked in, or it's like in the present and they're dealing with it with flashbacks, kind of like informing like where they came from type thing. I feel like you don't do a Fantastic Four movie and cast Kang the Conqueror without like building on this connection.
Right. I think the movie's going to be in present day,
Mhm.
or 5 years in the future from present day.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's what makes the most sense, and you'll get flashbacks or like an opening scene that kind of just explains it all.
Mhm.
I've always been a proponent of just putting like a short film out that explains what happens in the beginning and then just starting the movie.
Right.
Um, but they're never going to do that. That's just me. But I think this is really exciting news. Kang the Conqueror seems to be the new big bad for Marvel. Um, he's a time traveler. He's conquered, every time period, it seems, and he kind of has control in the comics. I'll be curious how they adapt him to the big screen and the small screen if he shows up in any of the TV series, because they say it's so connected. So I'm really excited about that. Is there anything else? I mean, we haven't even talked about Ant-Man and the Wasp coming back, like
Right.
Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly.
I
And
mean, I'm always down for some more Paul Rudd. Dude is just like he's just always a great presence to have around. Evangeline Lilly, Michelle Pfeiffer are badasses. Michael Douglas is always reliable as Hank Pym. Like that quartet, I'm especially happy that Michelle Pfeiffer is just getting more to do in this film, just because I feel like she was there for like 5 minutes with like three lines in Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'm glad to see her just getting to do more. I think she's an underrated actress. And then Jonathan Majors, like we already had a video covering him, but like if this guy is gonna be like our new big bad, and like since he's appears to be getting introduced so early in the game, I feel like he's definitely gonna show up in like so much ways. We still haven't even done a proper like multiverse breakdown of like multiverse of madness, the Spider Tom Holland's third Spider-Man film stuff. Like he's definitely going to be around a lot. I'm excited to see, just because Major's career really began in 2019, 2018, and he's been like grabbing roles like left and right. So the fact that he could be now holding this position of new big bad, jumping in out of time periods, jumping in and out of like the sub franchises, it's going to be very crazy. It's going to be interesting to see.
right. And what I will say is the past two Ant-Mans have been smaller films. I mean, they're massive films, but as far as Marvel goes,
Yeah.
this film will not be that. This film will be a big, major film. Um, I think it's going to have a lot more of a scale and much more of an importance to the grander MCU.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if there are other Marvel characters that show up in that series. And speaking of other Marvel characters and guys who are tech geniuses, Armor War features the guy who wore the armor of Tony Stark, War Machine, Iron Patriot, whatever you want to call him. Don Cheadle has his own series. I'm excited about this. The synopsis that Kevin Feige gave us at the investors meeting was, it's a classic Marvel story about Tony Stark's worst nightmare coming true when his tech falls into the wrong hands. And basically War Machine has to fix it. What were your thoughts when you heard the little, one sentence log
Yeah.
line of the story and then the bigger idea of having a War Machine series?
Well, I'll tackle the idea of there being a War Machine series first. I'll go a little more in depth with this with our Ironheart review. I am like 50-50 on like them like doing this like continuing this Iron Man thing just because like Tony Stark left such a huge legacy. So I'm like it makes sense that there are reverberate like his presence like caused ripples into other heroes. I will say though, and again we'll talk about this with Ironheart, but like I will say of between Armor Wars and Ironheart, I'm kind of leaning more to Armor Wars just because I don't know. I just feel like with there's just a level of unpredictability, and I feel like a new kind of fresh direction like for the MCU. Like again, we just talked about time travel and like crazy superpowers and whatnot with Fantastic Four and Quantumania, and then here it's just we're back to a guy in a suit, and I don't know, just the idea of that like oh yeah, like of course Iron like there was always the chance Iron Man suits could fall into the wrong hands. Like in Iron Man 2, kind of like blocked that to the best of his ability in that government opening scene, but he's gone now. So it's like what happens to all the arc reactors, all the suits, all the like does someone don't like where does all that nanotech go? So I think that could be both a cool like investigative story and both also like just like a cool like government like political thriller story in the vein of like Winter Soldier and what Falcon and the Winter Soldier are setting up to be. I'm intrigued. I mean, Don Cheadle's War Machine wasn't like I'll admit wasn't always at the top of like my favorite like Marvel supporting characters. I enjoyed him, but they never seemed to know what to do with him. He was just kind of there for presence. I'm intrigued to see what they do. I think this could be definitely a cool just like grounded story, especially in regards again to like Quantumania and whatnot.
Right. And I really like Don Cheadle as an actor,
Mhm.
whether it's as a supporting character in the Marvel movies or in the Ocean's movies,
Right, the ocean. Yeah.
or his best role that I remember, Hotel Rwanda. He
Hmm.
is amazing as a dramatic actor in this film. So I think if you give him the screen time, he's going to thrive in a role. Um, I think he has the charisma. I just think, he hasn't given a lot to do since Iron Man 2, to be honest.
Yeah, pretty much.
Um, so I'm excited for the series, not as much as, some of the other series that we'll
Yeah.
talk about later on. Was there anything else you want to touch on before we head out?
Just let's see. Fantastic Four. I'm just again. I'm just. I guess I'll recap Fantastic Four. I'm glad it's coming out. Quantumania. I'm not gonna lie. I saw that and I was like, that's a stupid as hell title. I guess maybe it'll grow on me like WandaVision did. But for right now, I'm like, this is the laziest title they could possibly have dreamt up. But like, I will roll with it for right now. And then Armor Wars. Honestly, I was not expecting this. Of all the things that they could have done, I was not expecting this. But at the same time, I'm not like upset just because I'm like there. It just entertains a very intriguing, excuse me, possible like storyline. Just like oh yeah, like Tony Stark is not around, so what do you do with all? What happens to all this tech? You stick it in a museum? Do you keep it like in his basement or whatever? Does like the government come like and like appropriate all of it? So I feel like positioning his best pal as like the center of it all is going to be interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if like Favreau and Paltrow are back as Happy Hogan and Pepper Potts, just like that kind of like Iron Man supporting cast reunite.
Right. Because it sure doesn't seem like Spider-Man's getting his stuff.
Yep.
Um, with that, that wraps up this episode where we are summarizing Fantastic Four news, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, which feels like Ant-Man and the Wasp Futurama, and Armor Wars. If you like the video, leave a like down below. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Peace out.